Okay, so this is the true and fairly complete story of how I actually got started in PLC programming. I did not, decide one day and just wake up and say, "Yo, man, I want to be a PLC programmer. That's just what I want to do." That moment didn't happen. At the time when I fell into that, I really wasn't even thinking about engineering. I didn't know anything about it really. I didn't care anything about it. I'm not a degreed engineer. So it's not something that I studied and went to school for and said, oh, I want to make things, I want to build and, design and it's going to be great. That never happened with me, right? Well, what I was unemployed. Okay, I was in Miami. I had just moved to Miami, and I had kind of been working in things industrial, doing like just random mechanical work and supervision and stuff like that. And before that, in a past life, I was doing kind of public sector management consulting. Before that, military. So, I mean, I've been bouncing around. And, I got to Miami and, it was a tough job market to crack. So I, was just like, man, I don't care what I'm doing. I'll clean toilets if I got to. I need to get some money coming in, I mean, life is hard. Life is harder when you ain't got no money. But life is real fucking hard when you're in Miami and you ain't got no money. Okay, so yeah, I took a resume. I threw it, as generic as I could, but I put my qualifications on there. And I mean, I won't say how I got this list because it wasn't perfectly legal, but somehow it fell into my hands. This database of like all the employers in the area that met certain criteria, and with all their contact information and fax numbers. So I just fax blasted. This is a fax thing because, I mean, we're talking, this was like, 20 years ago, right? Faxes were actually still a thing. So I faxed my resume to like all these different employers across Miami. I didn't even care who they were or if they were hiring. It's just like, hey, everybody, have a free resume. And, let's see if the phone rings, right? And I got a few calls and I went around and I interviewed with a few different places for, all kinds of different jobs. But the one that I ended up taking was, I won't say exactly where in Miami it was, and I won't say the name of the company because I'm about to disparage the hell out of this company. But I walked in the door and, I didn't even know what job I was there hiring for, applying for or interviewing for. I just went in, dressed kind of okay and everything. And it's a little manufacturing place. It's a little engineering firm that did wastewater treatment type equipment, right? So, I stroll in, and in a past life, I was a management consultant. That's why I teach a management course on Udemy today. And, one of the things that we knew how to do, I mean, we could walk through, take a tour of a plant or an office, and, we could probably identify $1 million worth of savings on an hour-long tour, I mean, we were just trained what to look for and, how to see the waste and, the missed opportunities and things like that on that tour. So I'm walking through this place and I'm like, my God, I could turn this place around because these guys are just hemorrhaging money. I mean, this is hilarious. And I'm just thinking, oh man, if they give me any kind of job here with any kind of responsibility, and they're going to be worshiping the ground I walk on before too long. I mean, they're going to think that I'm like magic, I mean, these guys are so far gone. If I fart, something useful is going to come out in this place. So I was real interested in seeing what they had in mind. And funny thing is, these guys, honestly, they liked my resume. They met me. They're like, oh, you're a cool dude. And, and so they offered me a job. What is the job? What is the title? And they're like, well, we don't really know what the job is. We don't really know what the title is. we just like you and we think that you could make a contribution around here and we want to pay you some money to come and work with us. And I'm just like, well, that's about the clown-hattingest thing I ever heard of in my life. What the hell? But I needed money and I saw opportunity to contribute to this place. So I'm like, yeah, I'll be your, whatever you want to call me, and you're going to pay me. Okay, it wasn't a lot of money, but, that's okay because, one, it was a little bit more than anyone else was throwing at me, and two, I knew once I get in this place, and make my mark, these guys are going to be just throwing money at me like a rap video, man. It's just going to be like, they're going to be making it rain, right? So I'm just like, all right, let's do this, fine. And I signed up with these guys. They gave me an office and everything, and I'm sitting there, and I didn't have anything to do, and they're just like, well, just jump in somewhere. I'm like, no, yeah, I'm just going to jump in, right? And I'm just kind of sitting there and looking at, walking around the plant and figuring out what it is that they build and why they build it the way they do, and, talking to people, getting to know people. And they were throwing me little random jobs here and there, like, oh, can you sort this and look over that and proofread this other thing? And I'm just like, sure, you keep the money coming, I'll do whatever you want me to do, And pretty soon, after a few months, they had this guy, we'll just call him Tony to make up a name, right? And this guy, Tony, man, this poor guy was like 100 or something. I don't know. He was an old dude. And he was the guy that was designing all their equipment. So he was an AutoCAD guy, mechanical engineer guy, sit there and throw together all this equipment, model it out, create all the drawings so that they could build this stuff. This guy was all alone. They had this huge contract, and this poor bastard was working, no kidding, this guy was going like 7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days. I mean, anytime you see this guy, he looked like hammered shit, okay? He looked like death eating on a cracker. The guy looked so bad. It was like his skin was just hanging off his face. His eyes were always bloodshot. And I'm just like, man, you guys are going to kill this poor devil, right? And so I'm just like, I walk into the president of the company's office, and, let's just give this guy a name. Let's call him Derek. Okay, so I walk into this guy, Derek's office, and I'm like, hey, why don't you let me go back there and help poor Tony? That guy's dying. You're about to lose that guy, like, not because he's going to quit, but because you're going to go back there one day and he's not going to have a pulse, okay? So let me go help him. And Derek's like, well, I got another idea for you. I want you to be like a project manager for us. And I said, well, hold on a second now. I'm like, if I'm working with old Tony, I just go back there, sit in an office, do my 9 to 5, and I go home at the end of the day. But you're talking about me being a project manager. I'm like, you're going to want to be sending me places out on the road. I'm going to have to be taking calls at damn 3 in the morning because people are in other countries and all this random shit. I'm like, if you want me to be a project manager, I can do that job, but you're going to have to pay me some more money for that. And the guy's like, well, you manage a couple of projects first and then I'll start paying you. I'm like, no, I don't work for free. It don't work like that. Okay, so he's like, well, you want to go back and help Tony? Fine, you can do that, but I'll let you know right now, that's a dead end for you. You go back there, you just locked yourself in that closet and you're never coming out again. But if you want to be a project manager, man, the sky's the limit. You can have all this that you see here one day will be yours. And I'm just like, yeah, and that's why you won't give me no money now. I don't think so. And he said, well, you don't tell me now. You take it till tomorrow and think about it. I said, man, whatever makes you happy. Come in the next day, guy comes up to me. Okay, so what did you decide? I said, I'm going to go help Tony. He's like, fine, and he storms out. This guy, Derek, right? As I understand it, back in his country, he worked in like sanitation. Like he was driving a trash collecting truck or something. And then all of a sudden someone gave him some money or something. So he came to the US and said, hey, I know wastewater treatment. Okay, whatever. But Yeah, I mean, he was about as skilled of a manager of a business or a president or a leader or anything like that. He was about as skilled at that as I am eating vegetables, okay? And anyone who knows me knows I never had a salad in my life, all right? But this guy, I mean, you know, I don't want to call him I don't want to call him a clown shoe, but I mean, he wasn't serious, okay? He was just this big guy with a deep voice and yelled at everybody and thought that's what running things meant. But anyway, I go back and start working with Tony, and you know, he's like, man, it's great that you want to help, but you don't know shit, and I'm not going to teach you shit, and you're useless as an asshole on my elbow to me, so you just stay over there and stay out of my way, and you know, we'll get along great. And I said, man, that's fine, you know, no problem. So I sat down at the desk, I taught myself AutoCAD, jumped in and started working on some of the drawings and stuff according to red lines that he had. You know, he circled mistakes and errors and things on the drawings or things that people wanted to change. And I got in and started making the changes. And then I'd kick them back to him and he's like, you did this? And I'm, yeah, man, isn't that what, you know, needed to happen? He's like, how the hell did you do that? It was like, I used like AutoCAD and a computer and like typing and moving a mouse. I mean, that's how you do this, right? He's just like, okay, I didn't know you could do this. I'm like, I didn't either, but I'm doing it. So he's like, okay, well, now you can start to help me. So fast forward a few months, and I'm faster at this stuff than him now. I mean, I'm kind of kicking his ass at AutoCAD, and I'm kicking his ass at designing the equipment. And, you know, I'm doing the designing, and he's kind of, you know, making corrections on it and kicking it back to me now. So, you know, it's like, okay, this is cool. And we got everything caught up and everything was running smooth, and we got over the big lump of that project. And along the way, we had lost our PLC programmer, okay? So 12 minutes into this, I'm finally getting into some PLC, right? This little company lost its PLC programmer. You know, that guy just flew off and went somewhere else. I don't know. That guy was kind of a dick anyway, so it was good to see him go. But, you know, they interviewed a few other people for the position, and they were discovering something really unfortunate. Skilled employees cost money, okay? And the guys running this company, there was that guy, Derek, and the CEO of this company, let's just make up a name and call him Ed. Ed, this guy, I mean, he was like, you ever watch Cobra Kai? And you know who Kreese is, right? This guy looked like that, you know, this kind of, you know, toothy old man, you know, with this stern look on his face. But it was like if Kreese and Donald Trump had a baby together, you know, it would be this guy Ed, okay? He looked like Kreese, but he had that Trumpian arrogance that, like, you know, he knew everything, and you know, when he opened his mouth, like the dumbest shit you ever heard would come out. I mean, there was even a sign, there was like a tell. If Ed opened his mouth and he prefaced what he was about to say with one of these phrases, if he said like, it's a well-documented fact, or everybody knows that, you know, when he started with something like that, it's just like, oh man, like get under a table because you know it's about to start raining stupid shit, right? But this guy, you know, he was the CEO of the company, which basically just meant someone gave him some money, you know, and he decided to start a business. Anyway, yeah, these guys weren't trying to pay anybody what they were worth. And you know, they're interviewing all these PLC programmers, and you know, they've got some qualified individuals walking through the door, and they're like, oh great, we'll offer you this much. And these guys said, I don't think so, you know, so how much do you want? This much. Oh, we're not going to spend that. Oh my God, you know, and they're like, well, that's what a PLC programmer's worth. You don't like it, don't know what to tell you, program it yourself. Well, they did have one guy working there that I liked. He was this good old boy, you know. Well, let's just make up a name and call him Jim, right? But he was a good guy. I didn't interact with him a lot, but he was pleasant. He was professional. He had a solid bearing about him, right? And, you know, one day this guy, Jim, calls me into his office, And, he's a Southern guy, he's a good old boy. So he doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't pussyfoot around. He just whips it out and slaps it on the table. Whatever's on his mind, there it is, straight shooter, right? And I walk in and, he's like, he doesn't even, let me sit down, like, let me offer you a drink, nothing. He's just like, hey, Paul, can you program our PLC for this project we got? And, I'm trying to be all diplomatic and stuff because on one hand, I'm like, well, this sounds like fun. And on the other hand, I'm just like, let's not, make any promises we can't keep, So I tell him, well, Jim, I said, I'm not sure what you've heard or been told, but I said, I have no experience programming PLCs and I have no training in that. So I am not a PLC programmer. I didn't ask you what your training is. I asked you, can you do the job? And I just like, oh, you bastard, And I look at him, I said, yeah, I can do it. I'll have it done in 30 days. And he said, all right, you're our PLC programmer. Okay, that was it. I mean, that was how I got it. That was my interview. That was my application. Honestly, that was less. I was in and out of his office. I am not exaggerating. I was in and out of his office in under 2 minutes. Probably under 1 minute, okay? I mean, it was just, can you do it? I'm not qualified. I didn't ask. I asked if you can do it. Yes, I can. Fine, go. And just like that, I go back to Tony. I'm like, Tony, I can still help you if and when you need it, but I've just been reassigned. Now I'm a PLC programmer. He's like, oh, okay, congratulations. I'm like, yeah. And that wasn't even like a thing to him. That didn't even like prompt much of a reaction. He just kind of smiled and just laughed and chuckled about it because he knew how screwy everything was there. Like nothing was going to surprise him at this point. So, I grabbed the old PLC programmer's company laptop and got in and started hacking my way through, figuring things out, getting on Google, getting on different forums. Back then, there weren't really classes or courses online or anything. And so, I'm just, reverse engineering projects, past and looking at the programs and trying to figure things out. I've got some hardware on my desk, an HMI and a PLC, and I'm figuring out how to make them talk to each other. And I can energize this. I can make that light up. Oh, nice, they're talking to each other. Woohoo! Proof of concept. And from there, it's just like, okay, somebody write down what this system is like supposed to do and how it's supposed to work. And then I made a program, and it did all those things. And within 30 days, we had a meeting of the engineering staff, and I'm walking them all through an online simulation of my program, and they're watching it work and testing it out and interacting with it and setting the set points and making sure it behaves correctly. And they're like, yeah, okay, this looks good, this will work. And about that time I got a better job, so I took off and went to another company, and the rest is hysterectomy. But that was how I got into PLC programming. And a big important side note here is stop and think about this. If I was working in a big, properly managed company, I wouldn't have got opportunities like that. I learned AutoCAD there. I learned, engineering there. I learned PLC programming there. Oh, I didn't even mention this. I was doing their IT for them because they didn't know how to manage their servers or run their backups or like anything, okay? So it was kind of cool in a sense that, yes, it was a horribly mismanaged company. Yes, the management team at this company could be taken about as seriously as the butt flap on the back of an old pair of pajamas, okay? It was a joke. But that being said, because they were cheap bastards, I kind of got to just run free and put my hands on anything I wanted. And as long as I didn't break it, it was cool. And, for months, I was at this place with nothing to do. So I was getting paid to sit there and teach myself cool shit, marketable skills. So I'm just sitting there teaching myself PLC, teaching myself AutoCAD, teaching myself, design and all this stuff. And hey, it was great, because I left there and now I've got these, skills in engineering. So I walk into the next place, put my thing down. Those guys cashed me out. They actually paid me because, oh, you can do this, 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 and this. And wow, you're underappreciated. Don't worry, come here. We'll take care of you. Nice. I like it. And later on down the road, here I go, and I'm just teaching all that stuff. And people are like, oh, cool, thanks. That makes it easier for us. And I'm, getting paid for that. But I'm telling you, everyone wants to work for these big name companies, but there's something to be said about these little guys because a lot of times they don't have money to pay people, they're understaffed, they're overworked, and it's a good opportunity to get in there and learn a whole lot of stuff, it's a lot of times feast or famine. You're either swamped and everybody's running around like chickens with their heads cut off, or everything's just low key and mild and everyone's just kind of dragging their asses waiting for the next job to come through. And in those times, man, you run over to the desk next to yours and, hey, what are you doing, man? Show me how to do that. Explain that to me a little bit. I've always been curious, what do you do? What's that, chemical engineering? Man, I don't know anything about chemistry. Can you explain some of it to me? Like, how do you break that into these other little things and put them back together and make something else? But I'm telling you, it's amazing in a small company. You can wear a lot of different hats and you can learn a lot of stuff. Maybe they're not ever going to pay you, but that's a great little incubator. You get your head full of some knowledge and skills, go to one of these little small companies, and that's where you can really spread your wings and get some experience and more knowledge and more skills. Then you can go to these bigger, more successful growing places and they'll throw money at you because, now you're proven. Now you're kind of tried by fire. It's cool. But yeah, that's how I got into PLC programming. Didn't set out to do it. Wasn't my lifelong dream. Didn't even know what the hell a PLC was, quite frankly, until practically someone's throwing it in my face and saying, can you go and do this job? I know that doesn't really help a lot of people because most people aren't going to get jobs thrown at them like that they're completely unqualified for. But something to think about and keep in mind is if there is a place on this planet in modern day, this was sometime between like 2005, 2010 when this happened, right? I don't even remember. That's a million damn years ago. I'm old. I don't remember that far back. But if there's a place in this world that will just throw the job at some unqualified ass hack like myself, well, just think about the position you may or may not be in. If you've got some training and you actually know how to do some things, and you're like, oh man, but I don't think I can get a job because I don't have this and that and this and another thing. Man, if someone in this world will throw that at me, someone will give you an opportunity, okay? You just haven't talked to the right person yet. So if you're looking for that first opportunity, don't give up, don't get discouraged. It might take you a hot minute to find something, but you ask the right person, connect with them, show them what you can do, man, they're going to give you the job, okay? Just, make sure that you kind of know what you're doing going in and, don't take on anything you probably can't handle. But at the same time, don't be scared to look and don't be scared to market yourself and don't be scared to chase the dollars. There's opportunity out there. You just got to be diligent and seek it out.